Okay, in today's session, we'll talk about the forms. Day 25th of July 2024, and time is this. And we are going to study forms in the React. Almost everything we have covered in React, and few things as I have mentioned yesterday that are remaining. That is nothing but the forms, error handling. Error handling is easy. HTTP communication. React router is important. Custom hooks is easy. Third party libraries. Now, now form handling. Consider that you have a registration page and you want to take inputs from the user The form handling, we have studied the form handling in HTML5, CSS3 and the JavaScript also. Same thing we are going to use, but in a React that is done in a different way. So managing the state, so we have a form somewhere adding interactivity, responding to events, where we can do it in different way also, no problem, but I want to stick to the official document. Reacting to input with the state, this is what is needed. Handle submit, handle form submit. So submit form, so here we would be having, we need to get the form, this button like this. So this is a, if you see here, this is a plain JavaScript that we have studied earlier. This is how we have handled the form in plain DOM. It uses the browser DOM. It is not using a React DOM. So when you talk about the React form, we need to take little different approach. And what is that? We are going to see. Form handling. That's what the topic today is. So let's go to the final thing, this one. Okay. Just a minute. I think we didn't create the project. It's a day 109. 109. Terminal, cd desktop, cd stack 109, nvm use 18. So what is the React version we are using? What is the version we are using in the React? Can you tell me the command? Hello?
npm create with @latest.
npm create with @latest. Okay. Say form handling using React, plain JavaScript. npm install. So here form handling, this part main.jsx, app.jsx. Let's delete app.css. We don't need it right now. Index.css, main.jsx, app.jsx. Just keep the state as it is. Okay. So let's add the form tag. Form tag. Right? Then inside form, just username and password we would be having. We can have a div here, label, we can say username, and input type text, password, input type password, here placeholder username, placeholder password, and in the last div we can have input type button, input type submit. Value login. Okay, so how it looks: npm npx npm run dev 5173 localhost 51, index.css. Okay, you can see username, password, and the login. Can you see, if I click on the login, page gets refreshed. So we have handled this also, right? Can you tell me how we have handled this? Hello? How we have handled this? Avoid the page refresh. So here we can say const handle submit event, we are getting an e dot prevent default. This we have done in the DOM. And now see, there is one event on submit, and we can pass this thing handle submit, refresh it, and can you see, because of this prevent default, now see page is getting refreshed. So because of this prevent default, page refreshed stopped. Okay, now what about these controls? So whenever you click on the submit, I need the data that you have entered over here. How do you do that? Easy. We need to have one state variable, const user set user is equals to use state and the empty object. We can use the contextual API also here. and here we can say user name empty and password empty in the beginning. Now I want to associate this state variable with these input. So this is called as controlled input. So whatever they have done in this thing, I am doing same thing but on my own. You may read this page in detail. React provides a declarative way to manipulate the UI. Instead of manipulating the individual pieces of the UI directly, you describe the different state that your component can be in and switch between the response to the user. So what you will do, so this username from this object is assigned to this input and the password is assigned to this input. So how do you do that? So here we can say on change, and here we can say const handle username change. A function would be getting called. Similarly, const handle pass change. This function would be getting called. So handle username change. This is how kids do. Handle pass change. Handle username change, handle pass change. So if you wanna console console.log username changed and the password changed. So if you go here and inspect it, if you type, can you see username changed, password changed, which means that this event is getting triggered. Now you know, if you want to get what exactly have been typed, if you want to get that thing, e dot, so here const, can you see const name and value is equals to e dot target. So this thing we already have done in the DOM. E dot target. E dot target means the control on which this is called. Here also e dot target. Now here you need to do one thing. You need to attach the name attribute. Name is equals to username and name is equals to password. Okay, this name attribute is important, so we are going to access it by means of name. So presently you have a different functions, that's why it is okay, but we are going to, can you see you have done the repetition, so this is repeated, so this is bad idea. And here we need to set the state, set user, set what? User. So while setting the user, which is nothing but this, so first we need existing user object, and then here this is for the USNM, so USNM colon this value we can attach. Same thing needs to be done for the password and this value. So we are using a spread operator. Existing values of the user are copied. Here also existing value of the user are copied, which means that over here whatever existing username and password is there, all that things are placed, and we are using the same key username as this. So new value would be getting updated. So just key difference is in here. Now if you go and console.log, here we can say we need to print this user object, print this user object, and see what happens. Go here, refresh it, abc pqr, click on login. Can you see username abc, password pqr, username abc, password pqr. So this thing is called as form handling in the React. So if you talk about form handling in the React, remember that every component or every element is having its own state. Identify your components' different visual states: empty, typing, submitting, success, and the error. So if you see here, this input box is having built-in state, but you want the state of this input box to be managed by React state of this input box to be managed by React's use state or the state. So whatever you have typed over here, whatever you have, one thing is missing: value. So this is important. We can assign value is equals to form data, is equals to user dot username, and this value is equals to user dot password, user dot username, user dot password. So the particular inside this state variable, this much is assigned to one control, that is input field, and this much is also assigned to another control, that is also input field. Okay. That's what we have done over here by means of value. Controlled. So React is handling the state and not the HTML. In this case, who is handling the state? React's state mechanism is handling the state. And what React state mechanism says? Holding the data between the re-renders is nothing but what the state. Another thing. So here we have one more label and say username mandatory is mandatory. Similarly here, password validations is mandatory. Username is mandatory, password is mandatory. Let's give a red color, style, and color colon red, and the red. Color is red, and see, if you click on this, it is doing that thing, but at that time this message should be popped up. Whenever you click, not in the beginning, but whenever you click, at that time that message should be visible. How do you do that? How do you do that? So from the beginning only this message is visible. So again we need to have a state object, const validation and set validation use state validation is user valid false is password valid false. And here we can say something like this: validation dot is user valid. If it is valid, then and only then here also same thing, is password valid. Now presently it is a false, then here you can say it is not valid, then it would be visible. Now you can apply the validation. So we can write a function const apply validation, and in here we will check. So presently we will check in very basic things. This shouldn't be empty. This shouldn't be empty. You can add lot of checks over here. So here you can say user dot username dot length should be greater than 4 characters. Should be greater than what? If username dot length is greater than 4, then we need to set what? Then we need to set validation. Just copy existing object validation, and then here you can say is user valid true, else set validation false. Similarly, same thing for password. Is password valid true, is password valid false, and apply validation. Here we can check if both the things should be true, then and only then we will move ahead. If validation dot is password valid and validation dot is user valid, then and only then we will print the user. Otherwise, see, it is mandatory. I can say A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. Okay, why it is not changing? Validation dot is user valid, validation dot is password valid. Can you see here? And click. So this click is also not working, which means that set validation. Oh, apply validation. We didn't call the apply validation. This call to this function is important. Even you can call this function on the handling also. Apply validation. apply validation, apply validation. User dot username. So here we are setting the user. Here validation is password true. Here also we can call apply validation. Is password valid? Okay, let's try to print the object json.stringify validation object. Can you see presently it is false? So object itself is not changing. That's the concern. The values are remaining. Can you see is user valid false? Is password valid? Is password valid true now? It is false. This is not working. This is working. Is password valid? Set user username. Apply validation. Apply set validation. User.password.length. Is password valid? Is user valid? It's not. Strange. Why this thing is working? Is password valid? Is user valid? Now it is a valid actually. Password is working. Validation, set validation. Set validation. If this is if else, validation dot is user valid and this thing validation dot is password valid. So this is now true. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Greater than 4. User dot username dot length password dot length. Refresh it. Username length is getting increased. It's 3, it's 4, it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. So why password is working? This is the input username. Is password valid? Well, you figure it out what's happening. Okay, I will push the code. You tried today, what's happening here? Otherwise I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, React form handling. Am I audible? I have pushed the code.
Yes, sir.
Fine, let's call it for a day. We'll meet tomorrow, but try this thing.
Yes, sir.
Try it. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.